This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, The Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hello and welcome to True Talk with Christina, where we share the truth and nothing but the truth to help you create your best life. Today's show is about you, what we can learn from great brands, and how you are or can be a great brand. This was inspired by the Women in Media event this weekend put on by the Eleanor Project. So I'm very excited to share with you some of the insights I gained and how that can be applicable to you, whether you're in business or not. So first, I have, as usual, my legal and compliance disclaimer to read. I have some news and stats to share with you, and then we'll dive into our topic today. Welcome to True Talk with Christina. My name is Christina Kimball, and I am the branch manager for Edge Home Finance Corporation, which is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS number 891464, and my personal NMLS 1484144. We support equal housing opportunity. You can find us online at Edge Home Finance CV for the Central Valley.com. I am also a licensed professional real estate agent and grow leadership development at Volant Real Estate, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate. My license number is 019124661. You can visit our real estate website at volantrealestate.com. I am also an executive director and certified coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell team, where we believe that leadership is influence and the first person you lead is yourself. You can learn more about leadership and professional development on my website at ChristinaKimballSpeaks.com. In mortgage news, rates are up. I pretty much promised they were going to go up, and they have, as anticipated. It's likely, if you delayed on purchasing a home about a month ago, if you were to check rates again with your loan officer right now, you could be paying up to about 0.75% more in the rate for that loan. So if you're thinking about buying a home, upsizing, downsizing, buying an investment property, now is a good time to do that. If you think you're going to want to buy a home within the next 5 to 10 years, now is a good time to do that while rates are still relatively low. Even though they're increasing, they still are relatively low. It's a good time to make that move before rates go up even higher. And for your real estate update, we have the stats I've pulled for a few cities in San Joaquin County, as well as Modesto in Stanislaus County. These numbers were pulled from Metrolist as of 12/18 this afternoon. For single-family homes, I'll give you the numbers, what is for sale in each of these cities. Lodi currently has 185 single-family homes for sale, and that is up from 169 last week. In Stockton, we have 740, and that is down from 751 last week. So just down just a little bit. In Manteca, we have 147 single-family homes for sale, and that is slightly down from 158 last week. In Tracy and Mountain House, we have 190 homes, single-family homes for sale, and that is just a little bit down as well from 204 last week. Now, Modesto is up. There are currently 523 single-family homes for sale, and that's up from 514 last week. So we're not seeing the exact same consistency like we have been for a while now. Usually when one city's up, they're all up. When one's down, they're all down. For the most part, that's not a rule or anything like that. It's just kind of the trending we've been seeing. So we are seeing a little bit of a difference between the cities, and there are about 2.8 months of inventory, which means if all the buyers were to buy a home, we'd be out of homes if no new ones came on the market in 2.8 months. So that does move us closer when we look at this numbers for September, now that they're out, it does move us closer to being in a neutral market. Currently, we are in a seller's market, which means sellers have a little bit of an advantage in this market. We are seeing more negotiations, more sellers offering credit. That's not always. I'm just saying we're seeing that a little bit more now. So when we move into a neutral market, it's not necessarily a market that's highly advantageous to sellers, and it's not a market that's highly advantageous for buyers. It doesn't mean you're not going to get a good deal no matter which side of the negotiations you are on. Of course, that's why you want to get with a professional real estate agent who is good at their job and navigating this shifting market. So the market is shifting. It is shifting a little bit away from being a seller's market, entering into that neutral territory. So what is the bottom line? If you're looking to buy, now is a good time because the rates are still relatively low. Yes, they're increasing, and they will probably continue increasing based on all the data we see. However, they're still relatively low. It's a lot better than 9 or 10%. We still have relatively low rates, so it's a good time to buy. There still are not enough homes on the market to meet the demands of buyers, which makes it, guess what? Yes, a good time to sell. So that's when you get into a neutral market, it's pretty good for both sides. You're not going to see one side just getting everything they want and one side not. We see people buying and selling no matter what the market is. Right now, we're still in a seller's market a bit, but we are moving towards, we're shifting towards a neutral market. So combining with the rates increasing a bit, it's a good time to buy. I would not hesitate. I strongly encourage you, if you want to buy a home, whether you're moving up, buying your first home, you're downsizing, if you think you'd want to be moving within the next 5 or 10 years, for example, I encourage you to go ahead and move forward. Talk to a loan officer. You can give us a call if you'd like. Our number is 855-428-8554, and we'd be happy to help you out. Of course, I'm monitoring Facebook a bit here. Let me go back to actually see it. If you have questions, feel free to send me a message. I don't see any comments at this moment. You can send us an email, contact us through our website. Whatever way is most convenient for you, we'd be happy to answer questions that you may have. So today, I actually don't have a myth buster of the week. I realized when I was putting the show together, I didn't get one. So we're going to skip over that and get right into today's topic. So as I mentioned, I went to Women in Media on Saturday. It was at Delta College, and it was put on by the Eleanor Project. It was a TEP Talk, the Eleanor Project, TEP, instead of TED Talk, TEP Talk. And it was really, really good. And I thought, you know what, today I'm going to share with you some of the takeaways that I got, and I'm going to focus specifically on the very first speaker. Her name is Deborah Cantu with Cantu Consulting, and she talked about branding. And as I was looking over my notes and thinking about the information that was shared, I thought this is really applicable. Some of these nuggets, some of these insights are really applicable to everyone. As individuals, because you can substitute that word brand for reputation. So a company has a brand. As individuals, we have a reputation amongst our friends, in our community, in our neighborhoods, at work. It's our brand, right? And one of the things that, let me go back. I'm going to be switching back and forth between my notes here. One of the things that really stood out, or a question I wanted to ask, what can we learn from great brands that apply to us as individuals? What can we learn from great brands that apply to us as individuals? One of the things she said is that great brands have great respect for their audience. And I love that because it's very important when you want a good relationship with someone that you respect them, that you honor them. Maybe you think that they should be thinking higher, but meet them where they are and build that relationship. It's respect. Great brands have great respect for their audience. Another thing she said is that great brands stand for something bigger than they are. So take a stand for something bigger. Have great respect for your audience, the people that you're talking with, that you're relating with, that you're living with, that you're working with, that you're serving in your business, or that you're serving at their table if you work in a restaurant or the food industry. Great brands have great respect for their audience, and they stand for something bigger than they are. And she used the example of Kaiser taking a stand for health. I actually have Kaiser as my health coverage, so I really resonated with that. They have their Thrive initiative, and good brands make an emotional connection first. Just saw a typo in my notes. It's like, oh no. So great brands, good brands, great brands make an emotional connection first. So think about it when you meet somebody new. If they talk all about themselves, are they making a great connection? No, they're just talking about themselves. However, when you meet someone and they ask you questions and they get to know you, what are you about? What's important to you? What do you like to do? That's a connection. When we think about the person we're across the table from, or we're sitting next to, or we're standing in line with, when we have a conversation and it's not just like, hey, what do you think about this weather? Oh yeah, it's really hot today. Wow, they're always slow here and complaining. You may be connecting on a point of contention, but you're not connecting on an emotional level and really getting to know that person. That at the end of the 5 or 10, 20 minutes you're spending together, wow, I feel like I just made a friend. It's not like that if you're complaining, right? But good brands, okay, what's where the respect comes in. I think of my grandmother. I would never go up to my grandmother and just start complaining. She wouldn't want to hear it. And to me, that's disrespectful to my grandmother. I wouldn't do that. But instead, when I see her, I'm, hi, Grandma, how are you? Give her a big hug, and I'm going to show her love. And I think that sometimes we minimize love and what that means, but what does it look like? I just repeated something one of my mentors says is, love should look like something. What does it look like? It looks like honor. It looks like respect. It looks like asking someone how their day was. It looks like focusing on the other person instead of ourselves. It looks like putting somebody else first. Imagine if we all did that. You might think, well, what about me? What about my needs? Okay, that's selfish, but there, it's valid. We have needs that we'd like to see met. However, don't you know that what you give out, you get back? In church circles, I grew up in church. My parents pastor a church. We often heard, you reap what you sow. And a farmer can tell you that, right? It doesn't have to be a religious viewpoint or a spiritual viewpoint, but what you put out, you're going to get. If you go out and plant a garden and you take some seeds and you thought, you know what? I would really like to grow some corn. It's coming up on Thanksgiving. It's coming up to the fall. I love corn chowder. I like roasted corn. And so you're like, I'm going to plant a garden and I'm going to grow my own corn. You're excited and you can picture in your head. You can see the tall stalks growing up strong and green. When growing up, I grew up in the country. Well, the country was right outside my little town. I grew up in Madison. If you know where that is, Madison, California, Yolo County. That's where I grew up. And right across the street from where I lived, there was a huge field. And in that field, they would plant corn. They would plant sunflowers. So they would have different crops. So if that farmer, or you, if you're planting your garden and you want corn, what kind of seed are you going to plant? Corn, right? You're going to put something in there to get corn. Are you going to put apple seeds in the ground and expect corn to grow up? They kind of look a little different. They taste a little different. Their entire plant structure is different. Corn, we already talked about it, strong, green, goes straight up. Whereas an apple tree, it has a brown trunk, and then there are branches, and there are leaves, and then there's red apples. Well, they don't start out red, but you know what I mean. Their apples start to grow. It's different. It's a tree. It has a tree trunk. So if I want corn, am I going to plant apple seeds? No, it won't work. It'll grow something, but not what I said I wanted. Sorry, I'm getting pretty excited here. I feel like I'm talking too loud, and I promise I'm not trying to yell at you. But here's the thing. You have a garden, and it's your mind, it's your soul, and what you allow to come into that is what you're planting. If you reap what you sow, if you get back what you put out, you got to put the good stuff in there. And I don't remember exactly how I started getting on that, but when you love others, because really that's what it all boils down to. Respect. I respect my grandmother. I'm not going to go into her complaining. I'm going to ask her about her day. I'm not going in there with an agenda to talk about myself because I love my grandmother. I can picture, I have more than one grandmother, obviously, because I have a mom and a dad, and they each have a mother. One is still living and with us, and one is not. And I think about my grandmother who passed away many years ago, and I can picture her sitting at the kitchen table where she would often sit on the corner. And I can see her sitting there with her hands in her lap or on the table, and I could see her smiling. I can picture her. I would never walk up to her and just start complaining. I would ask her questions because I wanted to know about her. I wanted to know about her past. How did she look at things? How did she feel about things? And my grandma, she was funny and spunky, and some of the stories my dad shares about her from when he was growing up, it's pretty cool. So thinking about other people, you think about something bigger than yourself. So let's go back a little bit to the brand part. Good brands make an emotional connection when it's really about the other person. They're telling stories. I'm leading a speakers club right now for people who want to become better speakers. And the first lesson, it's about stories and sharing stories that make a point. Because when we share stories, don't you connect when somebody's telling a story and they're telling us about something from their personal life? It allows you to make a connection with them. So good speakers do that. They make a connection with their audience. And what Deborah Cantu said was good brands make an emotional connection first. What's a great way to do that? Tell a story. When you're relating to a person one-on-one, what's a great way to make an emotional connection? Ask them about their story. Ask them questions. What was life like for you growing up? What's your family like? What values do you have in your family? And that was another thing I wanted to make sure I talked about is values. It has to do with your brand. And as a person, as a company, what do you stand for? She specifically said great brands stand for something bigger than themselves. Our lives are not just about us. It's about every life we touch. And what kind of reputation do you want to have? Do your actions back up the values that you have as a person? And do your actions support the reputation that you want to have? Let's say perhaps an anger problem. We'll use that as an example because I think everybody can relate to having an anger problem, whether it's something that they personally are dealing with or they've been a victim of somebody who's had an anger problem, someone who's flown off the handle when they're talking to them, somebody who reacts like that. They can go from 0 to 60 in like 1 second. So an anger problem. I'll just say, use myself as an example. So let's say I have an anger problem. And one of my values, like deep down in my heart, is loving and honoring others. And that is so important to me. It was ingrained in me growing up, and it's what we do. Our life is not just about us. It's about every life we touch. So if I have an anger problem and I allow that to go unchecked, and I just fly off the handle and I yell at this person and I yell at that person, and someone comes up to me and says something I don't like and I yell at them. I don't do this, just so you know. I'm just using it as an example. So if I have a value internally of loving people and I want to show that through my actions, I'm going to rein that anger in, right? I'm not going to allow these things to come out of my mouth that are just verbally attacking somebody, because it's not congruent to a value I have inside. And every time I would do that, I would probably feel pretty bad, right? There's this war going on inside where I say I love people, but my actions aren't showing that. So I'm going to encourage you today to think about what do you stand for? And do you stand for something bigger than yourself? Is your life more than just about you and what you can get and what you need? Or do you look to the needs of others? What are your values? And do your actions support that so that you have the brand, the reputation that you want to have? It's an important question. So I would encourage you to pause, take some time, put it in your schedule so that you can reflect. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What am I saying with my words? How am I projecting myself to the world? I've always had a heart for helping others, but I'm not volunteering anywhere. I've always had this creativity inside me, and I've always wanted to do graphic design. But why am I always writing everything and I'm never drawing? What's inside of you? Because I believe everybody has something amazing and incredible inside of them. Some people may have one thing that they're super good at, or maybe they're average at, but it's a skill that can be developed. Some people have 2 things that they're really good at. Some people have 5 things. Some people have a bunch of things. What is bigger than you? What can you do or focus on that's bigger than you? Where can you volunteer your time for something that's going to make a greater impact than you could make alone? Because if you've got 5 people coming together to serve, to volunteer, well, now your one thing of doing something good multiplies because 5 people are coming together to do one thing. What is your big thing? Do you want to see peace in your city? Do you want to see peace in families? Do you want to see peace in corporate America? Do you want to see joy in the less fortunate areas? Do you want to see hunger eliminated? What is it inside of you that you have a desire to achieve, to see happen, that's bigger than you, right? Because great brands care about things and move toward things that are bigger than them. For Kaiser, it's health, which, if you think about it, a healthcare system, if nobody was sick and everybody's healthy, wouldn't they be out of a job? But that's their goal. Because what they're pursuing, what they're doing is bigger than them. So my question for you is, what are you doing that's bigger than you? What do you take a stand for? How are you honoring others? What were the exact words? Let me get the exact words here. And how are you making an emotional connection with other people? In my company, in Volant Real Estate, I have a document that I created, and it says it's called Volant Real Estate A to Z. This is who we are. And I wanted to share a couple of things not because it's about Volent Real Estate, because these are values that I have as a person. And when I look at them, I can see how I live them out. Don't you know that when you really look at your values and your actions are congruent, they match up to your values, that's when you're going to have real joy and you're going to have real fulfillment in your life, because it is about something bigger than you. And you're living how I believe you were created to live, with these values that are inside of you when you're living them out. So I wanted to share a couple of these just to give you an idea. Maybe this isn't something that you've thought about before. Maybe it is. And maybe you haven't really taken the time to sit down and say, what are my values? So for me, I would say, Christina, what do you value? What is important to you? And it has to be bigger than just me as a person, because things wouldn't get accomplished in this world. We couldn't move forward. We couldn't affect change if things weren't about more than just us. So here's one of the values we have at Volent Real Estate, and it is betterment. That's the word, betterment. We actively seek to become even better human beings and the betterment of the professional, family, and communities we serve. That's a value. I look, how can I make things better? Not just for myself, but people I'm living with, people I'm working with, people who are in the same city, in the communities that I serve. How can I make it better? This is a time when it is about you. It's all about you. What are you going to do? That when you look at your values. Another one, caring. We care about all human beings in our circle of influence and prove it through our actions. See, these thoughts and desires we have without actions backing them up, they don't mean much. If you say, I love you, but if it's not backed up with any action, what does it really mean? They're just words. I think that's where that term lip service comes from. They're just things coming out of our mouth if they aren't backed up with action. Here's another one. Discipline. The first person we lead is ourselves through discipline and focus. Diversity, one of my favorite ones. We celebrate cultural diversity and heritage. I am diversity. My mom is Caucasian and my biological father is African American. So I am diversity. I am diversity walking out in harmony. It is possible, not just through genetics, not just through birth, but we can come together as people, work towards something that's bigger than ourselves, make that emotional connection where we honor and serve and love others. Our lives are better for it. Here's another one. Fun. We have fun while we grow, get results, and create impact. I don't know about you, but I like to have fun. You'll often see me smiling, laughing. I mean, I laugh at myself. I get tongue-tied. I don't care. That's just me. That's who I am. One of the other thing about great brands is that they are authentic. Be authentic. Does that mean that you can be disrespectful to everybody else by being authentic? Does that mean you can say whatever you want regardless of how it's going to impact another person under the banner of saying, oh, I'm authentic, I'm just being authentic? Well, if you want to be a great brand and have a great reputation, right? If you want to make an impact that's greater than just you, you do have to think about how that's going to be received on the other end. You do have to think about, if I'm being authentic and just letting everything fly out of mouth because I'm being authentic, am I showing that I care another person? Am I going to necessarily create an emotional connection? Probably not. Be authentic to your values. Hold strong to those values, who you are on the core. Can you be better? Yes. Can I be better? Yes. Can we all be better? I think I've heard it worded a certain way, like be the best version of yourself, because we can always be better. I believe we should all, if we want to be the best that we can be, we have to get better at it, right? An athlete, okay, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old out on the football field playing football. Oh, they're cute. They're running around with their helmets that are they look like they're too big, and their little uniforms. And it's super cute to see 7-year-olds out playing football. Do they have to practice? Yes. Do they go from that same skill? Do they hold on to that same skill as a 7-year-old and get drafted by the NFL? No. They have to become better. They have to practice. They have to do the work. They have to focus on it. They have to be intentional. They have to develop that skill. You don't just be the best that you can be as you are. Hopefully that makes sense. Being the best version of yourself is continuing to grow, continuing to learn, continuing to practice. Let's go back to that anger management example. If their anger just flares up like that and they just yell at people, if they want to be the best version of themselves, I wouldn't say that that's it. It's learning the self-control, learning that when that anger flies up, they close their mouth, take a deep breath. If their goal is to make an emotional connection with someone, to honor the person that they're in front of, they'll take a deep breath and take another one if they need to. They're going to learn, do what they need to do. Like maybe they have a rubber band around their wrist and they go, pop. They stretch that rubber band out and then let it go so it snaps onto their wrist, and realize that is the pain I can cause, representative of the pain I could cause another person if I allow this barrage of words to come out of my mouth. But I know that I have a core value deep inside of me that I want to grow, and I want it to be at the forefront. I don't want to push it down by blasting out people in anger. I'm going to make a better choice because I'm going to be the best version of myself. The brand, the reputation that I want when I die and they're standing up at my funeral, I want people there to celebrate my life. I want them to have learned something from my example that makes them better. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully those were some good examples there of values and being a great brand, which is having a great reputation. I'm not saying you need to worry about what people think about you. You're not in competition with anybody else. It's not about someone else's journey. It's your own journey. Who are you? What do you stand for? What are you taking a stand on that's bigger than yourself? How do you emotionally connect with others? It's your brand, and you get to create it. So that's how you take a business concept and apply it as a person, as an individual. Deborah Cantu talked about great brands and what makes a great brand. And I was not just inspired by it, because inspiration, it can go away. Oh, that's great, rah, rah, rah. And then you leave and do nothing with it. But when you apply and when you share, like I'm sharing with you today, that's when you can have a great impact. That's when it's bigger than just you. So what's your brand? What do you stand for? What's the reputation you want? In your circle of influence, if you're an entrepreneur in business, what is your brand? You get to create it. Be authentic. Make sure your actions, everything you do, backs up that brand, that reputation that you want in the marketplace, that you want amongst other human beings in your city, in your state, in your country, in the world. We are all like stones thrown into a lake. There are ripples that go out. Whether it's intentional or not, you're causing ripples. Your actions, your intentionality, your focus or lack thereof, it's still rippling. What do you want your ripples to do? That sounds funny. What do you want your ripples to do? Phew. So that is the topic for today. Hopefully that was helpful and beneficial. I know even just talking about it helps me as well. So, we always end the show with holidays, the national holidays for the day. Today, October 9th, we have 3 national holidays. Some of them require no explanation at all. One of them, I felt like it requires some explanation. So the first one, it is national, and I've not heard of any of these, by the way. The first one is National Pro-Life Cupcake Day. Well, we know what cupcakes are. We don't need an explanation there. But pro-life, it is this. I'll just read what it says. And I get these from nationaldaycalendar.com. So October 9th observes National Pro-Life Cupcake Day. On this day, cupcakes are baked to honor the lives of those not yet born and to raise awareness about the issue of abortion. Cupcakes are a sweet way to get a conversation started on a difficult subject. I'd agree with that. Cupcakes are sweet. And that can be a difficult topic. So if you're so inclined, enjoy a cupcake today and have a sweet conversation. The next one, I'm not even going to read about this one because it's National Moldy Cheese Day. Moldy Cheese Day. Right? Personally, I can't say I'm a fan of moldy cheese, but if you are, today's a great day to enjoy some moldy cheese. The third one, I always tend to focus on the historical ones because I think they're interesting and we learn something new. Possibly, maybe you already knew, today is National Leif Erikson Day. I hope I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, Leif Erikson.
You know him?
I've heard the name, but I know that's how it's pronounced.
So National Leif Erikson Day is observed annually today, October 9th. The day honors the Norwegian-born Leif Erikson. I'm sure if I knew the correct accent, I would be saying that differently. The Norse explorer earns credit for bringing the first Europeans known to have set foot in North America. He left the European continent in 999, that's what it says, and landed in North America around the year 1000. 1000. I've never thought about the year 1000 before.
Milestone year, right there.
Yeah, milestone year. There we go. So apparently in 1925 at the Norse American Centennial, President Calvin Coolidge gave recognition to Leif Erikson as the discoverer of America due to research by Norwegian American scholars. I'm not going to try to say their names, but they were Norwegian American scholars. U.S. Representative John Blatnick from Duluth introduced a bill in 1963 to observe Leif Erikson Day nationwide, which is interesting because yesterday was Columbus Day.
Yeah.
They put them right next to each other.
Yeah. Both people who claim to found America.
Yes, which is interesting that we celebrate either of them really because people were already here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we won't go into that. But those are the holidays for today. I'm not even going to read any more on that. Whoops. Let me go back to my normal show ending script. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me today with True Talk with Christina. I hope you'll join me next week, 1:05 p.m. right here on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And you can watch us on social media. You can also check out the recordings. If you ever missed this live, just go back to our channels and take a listen or a watch. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. If you like what you hear, consider becoming a supporting member of our station. You can learn more at kxvs.org. Thanks again for tuning in. Have an amazing week and let the truth be your guide. And today, a little bonus. Make sure you work on that brand or your reputation if you're an individual. Have a great week, everybody.